Hello and welcome back to Doing Business in Europe. Today we're traveling to Finland and we have the pleasure to speak to Pälvi Lonka, Sales Director at Marimekko.
So I'm Pälvi Lonka and I'm the Sales Director here in Marimekko, been in-house some over 6 years and came here as export director, and nowadays I'm in charge of all our distribution and sales all over in the world, including domestic market and international market.
Can you tell us something about your origin?
So born in Finland, and actually educational wise I've been studying some economics but as well handicrafts, so my background is in design and economics as well. Been working in companies in Finland for the wholesale corporation here and been in charge of buying office in Hong Kong for some 7 years, so been watching things from a different sides of the desk, let's say so being in on purchasing part, but as well now on retailing part, being like a director for department stores for 3.5 years before I came to Marimekko. So background in like I said, sourcing, purchasing, retailing. All right, talking about the Marimekko, so we would need a lot of hours actually to explain everything, but okay, we have the history of 60 years, so it was established 1951 by a very strong lady called Admiratia, whose very vision was very much to talk about how after post-war time of Finland we can bring people something which makes them more coming out from those depression time of war and bring us people color, happiness, something completely different what we had by that time on early 50s. And she was very talented to find out the people from art schools and from different areas who are really kind of like talented designers bringing some things printed on the fabric, but by the same time understanding to the people how to use the fabrics actually, because fabric itself was beautiful, but people were asking about that, what to do with these ones. And she was clever to organize the first fashion show ever in Helsinki already by 1950s, 51 actually, and that was like a start for the company. So it was very quickly understood even from abroad, from different markets, that something very strong is happening there in country like in Northern Europe, like in Finland. And ever since actually this has been really like a strong design company, always working with the talented young designers from the art universities, from different schools. And today when we see backwards, we can see our designs from 50s, 60s, 70s combined with the designs of today's very talented young designers. So that's like combining things together and bringing this happiness in our prints, this in other way around also very graphic design, what we can see here in our prints, and make them to be seen in different products like clothing line, like in interior line, bags, accessories. So like making them as a product so that the people can really see that how to utilize them in their own life, in everyday life. And we very much want to also make people thinking more like what are the values, what is important in our lives nowadays, and we want be the company who makes people understand that be yourself, don't be pretending. So just put a value on the everyday beauty, everyday life, and really underline evaluating those kind of things and values in life. And like I said, this has been from day one very much also seen as an international company. So Armi, the founder, already understood that there are no limits, there are no borders. So this design can be all over in the world the same. And we were already on 60s, very much seen in Europe, in the United States, in Japan. We had a couple of some years, maybe not a bit more difficult, but always been very much like seen from different parts of the world to be a very interesting company. And now we are strongly coming back to this area, that how the Marimekko can be really strongly growing also outside of Finland. So at the moment we are very strong in Finnish market, but our future definitely will be more in international markets. So now we are building our distribution also outside of Finland very, very strongly.
Where would that be in Europe?
That will be in Europe. That will be also in other markets. So we are relatively small companies still. And we think we got to be focusing to certain markets. And at the moment we are very much focusing to Scandinavian market, which is definitely part of Europe. Beside of domestic market Finland, so of course Denmark, Sweden, Norway. And we are focusing to North American market and also very much the market like Japan, South Korea, so East Asian market. Central Europe, so it's been market to Marimekko for years and years, and it's there and we are working with it, but we are not so much focusing at the moment to those countries, but it will come very soon. But like maybe you've been following that we opened our store in Berlin just only a couple of months ago. So it tells very much that we see certain cities in Europe very much like supporting our internationalization, so that Berlin, London, places in Europe are something that people are anyhow following what's going on there, and we think they are very much also very vital cities like Berlin, where they are like in the spot at the moment that people are following what's going on there. So in that sense, Europe, of course, we never forget European countries either.
Is there, in the underlying strategy in which you choose locations, I suppose that there's a difference between where Europe and other international markets, and I suppose there's a difference as well between where you actually go into the market with the stores and where you go and where you actually have production happening, like in Estonia, for example.
So we always see the sourcing the way that at the moment Marimekko sourcing, we have our own production, and we are very proud about that we are one of the companies who are strongly thinking that we invest to Finland and production in this country. We are just decided to invest in a new printing machine a couple of months ago actually. And that's I think it's very much giving the message that we think that where the knowledge for printing technologies is the strongest one, and where our designers can work together with our printing mill here. So definitely we want to keep it here, not bring it somewhere thousands of kilometers away from here. And the same, what is the production of the goods? So we are always focusing to the factories and manufacturers who have the best skills in their own field. And we can say that at the moment, huge part, biggest part comes from not only domestic market, because there is no manufacturing any longer for all kind of products what we are needing, but very much in EU countries, in European area. So Europe is still over 80%, I could even say over 90% of our manufacturing.
Why is that? Is that quality thing? Is that an image thing? Is that, I don't know.
Also lead times, qualities. Qualities, I think there are a lot of good quality factories also outside of Europe, but we definitely think that lead times and quantities and how much easier it is to work with the factories who are more close to our old cultural area as well. So they are very much the facts also, because we are looking for quality always, and quality is not only quality is including so many different aspects actually. So we are very much still thinking that we hopefully find the manufacturers in Europe, but definitely we have a very how to say it, actually seeing that where are the best sources for different areas, and if we cannot find them from Europe, then of course we got to be seeing otherwise elsewhere.
Okay. And in terms of location of the stores, really, the gaining the market altogether, what's the different. What's the difference in the approach you would use, for example, for Germany or other European markets versus the US or Japan, or is that a standardized approach, how you actually tackle those markets?
No, what is the European or what is the Western culture markets, for instance? So we have our own subsidiary in Sweden and in Germany, for instance, because we think that we can manage those markets because they're culturally and okay, it's a single currency is different in Sweden, but anyhow, this is the EU area market, and we think we can manage ourselves those markets. We have the agents in some other countries in Europe, in Western Europe area. We have our own subsidiary in the United States, but when we go outside of this culturally more close to us market, like to Japan, for instance, then we have chosen like a local partner who really knows the local market and knows how the retailing, how the distribution, marketing, PR, everything works there. So we have different approaches in different markets. How we see it doing.
Do you have a subsidiary in Europe as well?
We have in Germany. Yes, and in Sweden.
Why in some countries subsidiary? Why in some countries the concept stores? I mean, how do you actually make that decision?
No, that's very much where we are now building our new strategy and policy once we are even more focusing to international markets, so that area by area we are now strongly thinking that where we want to be with our own subsidiary, with our own company, where we want to have the agent model and private owned stores, where we might want to have the distributor who is taking care of the market area. So that's very much what we are building now, the policy and the strategy for coming years run. I made certain decisions like Sweden, we're going to have own subsidiary. We have now 2 stores in Sweden, in Stockholm, Malmö, and that's our aim, that we will have more stores also in Sweden area, and focusing also to the other markets in Scandinavia, but they are private owned stores. Like in Norway we have 4 Marimekko stores owned by local retailers, so that's
so
very much.
Why in this case would you open the stores in Sweden and not open a subsidiary? Where's the threshold between the two? How do you?
No, we have the subsidiary in Sweden, and that's why we have own stores in Sweden, because there we have the office located in Stockholm, and of course then we run the stores there, and want to have more stores in this country because we have our office and it can be run by that also. But for in Denmark, for instance, we don't have any our own subsidiary there, so we have in Copenhagen Marimekko store, but it's owned by a local retailer. It's a concept store there. So that's the approach, that where we decide to have our own presence in the market, own showrooms, own subsidiary, and where run by a distributor or agent or some. So different approach for different markets. And that's what we are now building, is like a roadmap for coming years, that where we want to be present with our own subsidiary and where with some other business model.
You made reference at some stage to the euro, the single currency. Does that have an impact?
Of course, from our point of view, as from the retailing point of view or the wholesale point of view, single currency makes life so much easier. When you're pricing things, you know you have only one retailing prices, you have one wholesale prices, everything what you are working with the one currency, because once you work with the different currencies, like in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, so it's much more. There are risk values, of course, because you never know how the currencies are moving towards you. But in your area, you always know how it works, and just practical work, even pricing, doing it. So it's quite a huge work as well. So it's very good if you have single currency, and also the customers. So definitely it's easier that we have the free market area for products to move compared to the customers in different countries outside of EU areas.
So very practically, when you move, say, your products from Finland into another EU country and from Finland into a non-EU country, can you just make the difference there? Explain to the uninsighted
Yeah, of
viewer.
course, it's a huge difference in that sense, that we have the duties, we have everything once we make export to the countries who are not inside of EU area. And okay, I said beforehand, we don't have so much production outside of EU area, but of course, once having production, let's say in Thailand or some. So first we bring the goods to EU area, and in case we export them then to outside of EU area, so it's like a double work then doing, but working inside of manufacturing EU area and then also exporting to EU countries. So that's the dream, of course, because it's much easier to handle this business also for the free trade.